All right, so flight delays are common in Nigeria, from weather to industrial actions or even VIP movement. But over the weekend, passengers in Asaba got a reason that's a little harder to explain. An antelope on the runway. Yes, you heard right. In his reaction, the Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development says Nigeria is now targeting smart fencing to keep animals away from the runway. And that's why you have this one.
Yes. When you board a flight, you worry about delays, turbulence, maybe even legroom. But a four-legged speed bump? Not so much. That's what happened aboard an Air Peace flight over the weekend in Nigeria. The aircraft collided with, wait for it, an antelope. Not on safari, on the runway in Asaba, Delta State. The incident sparked confusion online, with some claiming it happened at the Abuja airport. But Nigeria's Federal Airport Authority says it didn't happen on their watch, but at the privately managed Asaba airport in Delta State. A claim the Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development reiterates in an exclusive with Arise News.
It's not everything that happens at every airport that you blame the federal government. Asaba Airport is a private airport, in fact, owned by the Delta State government and then concessioned again to a private individual. So Asaba Airport is fully run by a private company. It's not even under the purview of the state government. They just own the facility. And so whatever's happened there, really, as regulators, the NCA, we are just regulators, we'll look into it. If there was inadequate fencing, then they will recommend and ensure that that is done. But it's obvious that there was some kind of lapse there for such an animal to be able to access a runway.
But it's not just a Nigerian thing. Globally, wildlife has been crashing the aviation party for years. In New Zealand, a penguin waddled in to take off. In Alaska, it's caribou. In Florida, alligators. And in Milan, what else? Hares. At JFK Airport, diamondback turtles use the runway as a romantic hotspot. Yes, turtle tinder is a thing. These intrusions can cause real danger. Bird strikes alone cost airlines hundreds of millions yearly globally. So airports are getting creative. Lasers, fake distress calls, and even pigs. A pig patrol has been recruited by one of Europe's busiest airports to keep the birds away. But back to Nigeria, where this isn't the first time animals have taken on an unscheduled runway stroll. In 2019, a herd delayed a flight in Bauchi, and in 2021, it was goats in Akure, Ondo State. So what's being done? The Federal Airport Authority says they are not in charge of the Asaba runway, where the latest incident occurred. Across Nigeria, there have been talks of fencing, patrols, and wildlife monitoring being ramped up. How impactful and how far with those measures?
But beyond that, as a general rule, we are also taking the fencing of our airports very seriously. Not only because of that incident, we have also noticed a couple of incidents, many of them, of course, most of them not fatal, across the country. And that is why in the next couple of days, I'm sure you will be briefed. Part of what we are doing with trying to assess the Renewed Hope Fund is the fencing of our major airports, especially the international airports, so that we don't embarrass the international airlines that are coming in. So for Lagos, Abuja, Kano, Enugu, and Port Harcourt, we are taking that very seriously. We are not just doing fencing, we are going to do very electronic fencing, not just the normal block and cement, like this kind of smart fencing.
Sure, passengers are used to flight delays due to weather, technical issues, even late crew. But try explaining that you were delayed by an antelope with no boarding pass. Adesua Omorwan, Arise News.
That part continues to crack me up. You
I
know,
know.
antelope without boarding pass.
How do you start to explain that?
How?
I was
All
delayed.
right. Yeah. Now we're joined now by someone who should know, the Director General of the Nigeria Safety Investigation Bureau, Captain Alex Badeh Jr. Thank you very much for joining us on Newsnight. Let me read verbatim what the U.S. State Department has said about Nigeria's airports, that they are not generally considered safe. Is that the conclusion of your agency, your body, that's the NSIB?
Negative. I'm not sure. There should be more context behind that.
Right.
Because if you give me more context, I might be able
What
to
they're
answer
saying
that.
compared to other airports around the
Around
world. Yes.
Yeah, but if they're saying all our airports, again, there's a metric. So by whatever metric they are measuring or measuring our Nigerian airports by, I'll tend to disagree with them to a point. Now, of course, there could be improvements.
Right.
Anywhere we should improve and strive to be better. But our airports are fairly safe. Now, if they're talking of maybe perimeter fencing, because I could see that as a sticky point, like all our airports don't have comprehensive perimeter fencing.
And you have animals having free, you know,
Strolls.
I don't know. I would call it free strolls because
cows,
even in the U.S.
and
we
what have
have
you.
even in the U.S. that happens more frequently than not. I mean, even in 2017 when I worked for American Airlines, it happened in Charlotte where a CRJ hit a deer, like an antelope, took off, came back, circled, and landed. You know, so it happens. I mean, and this is a big international airport, so I think it's a bit unfair for them to say. But this is me speaking as a Nigerian.
Yeah.
It's unfair for them to say our airports
The
are
patriotism sticks
totally
out.
unsafe. But yes, there
Yeah.
could be improvement. We should, you know, there are so many places we could improve on other airports. And you've seen, I don't know if you've flown recently, there's been a lot of improvements. Big shout out to the fan, to Bumi. She's doing a good job there, I must say. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of improvement. I've seen
Yeah,
improvement
the
in the past
environment
year.
at the airport.
Yes.
But let's go back to this particular incident in Asaba
Yes.
over the weekend. Is it something you are investigating? Have you opened a formal investigation? And when are we likely to have a report? Or it's just not nothing to worry about?
It's nothing to worry about because the airplane was fine. They continued on to
Thankfully.
Abuja, and there was no damage. They reported to the NCAA, and since there was not really any issue, they didn't report to us. Now, of course, the airport is being run by a private entity that we don't really interface with, but we plan on reaching out to them just to talk about, you know, best practices and, you know, the way forward. But again, we spoke to FAN, and FAN said they had no real presence there, so we couldn't really get anything from them. So we're liaising with the NCAA as well to talk to the airport operator.
In doing that report, I found out that this is more common than anybody, you know, would have imagined.
Yes.
But bringing it home as an investigation bureau, how often do we get to see accidents caused by roaming animals on our runway?
In Nigeria, it's very rare, actually. I mean, we don't, I mean, as far back as maybe 2012 or 11, there was Lufthansa in Port Harcourt. We've had, you know, the others where they didn't run into anything, but you have animals. Even when I started flying in Nigeria, you know, in Kaduna back then, you would go and you'd have the Fulani herdsmen watching you take off and land. So it's not been an issue. I mean, besides birds, but birds are a global phenomenon. They're an issue everywhere in the world. Of course, in Lagos, they're a particular issue. In Lagos and Port Harcourt, Lagos, you have, you know, we've built, I mean, this is their habitat. You know, huge urban areas with human beings now, and all our activities are what draw some of this, you know, we've encroached there, and then we're drawing this wildlife too to come, you know, eat with all the activities. So, I mean, we're still going to see more of it. It's just
hopefully there are no damages.
No damage or no serious
Well,
accidents.
since you say it's nothing to worry about, I guess we will just, you know, we hope that no incidents, you know, happen going forward. Now, let's talk about the other very important issue. I mean, your bureau worked side by side with the U.S. You know, accident NSIB, right, in investigating the Herbert Wigwe crash that happened February 9 of 2024. They've come out with findings, very troubling, talking about pilot error, deficiencies in the company's oversight and safety management processes. The pilot took off in spite of the fact that it was not clear to take off. Speak to us about the findings and, you know, Just, talk to us about that, yeah.
Well, just to set the record straight, because you said you used the word side by side, and we didn't work side by side. We're an interested party, and of course, the MBD and TSP, we deferred to them, and we let them handle the investigation.
Right.
I mean, they were all the way in the U.S. So, I mean, we were an interested party, and we were kept abreast of it, but I wouldn't go as far as saying side by side.
Okay.
But that being said, I mean, with this happens more common than not. I think I alluded to this when it first happened. Say it looked like disorientation, spatial disorientation for the pilot, and which is what it came out as. They spoke about the flight risk assessment, which was taken, and it should have been a higher score, and it wasn't. So, you could go deeper and wonder what happens, because it's more company culture than anything. I wouldn't blame the pilots, as they spoke about the company's safety management systems, and it just seemed more company culture than anything, because, with that weather, trying to fly visual in deteriorating conditions, he should have delayed. And if you read the whole report, you saw the insurers for the family requested a twin-engine airplane. There was none. It was just a busy weekend. It was hard to get anything that weekend. Yeah. There were no twin-engine airplanes. They wanted dual instrument-rated pilots and all that. They had to settle for a safety pilot. So, it was a known risk that even the insurers for Herbert Wigway and Co. knew about. So it was just one of those that slips through the cracks.
So are you saying this was not negligence, and when you say it is common? That's disturbing. Are we drawing any lessons from this? Can we draw lessons from this?
I would hesitate to use the word negligence, because I'm aware they're in court now.
Yeah.
There's insurance and all that, so I don't want to. I mean, I don't want my words to come back and bite me later.
Okay.
But I mean, from the report saying, the company were indicted their safety management systems. Like I said, they should have looked deeper into this. This should have warranted the pilot should have spoke to his flight follower, who happened to be the president of the company, I think, and he should have looked deeper into it to say, hey, maybe you should delay, maybe we should do this or do that.
Well, who makes the final call in that kind of situation? Is it the pilot?
Well, ultimately it's the pilot. It's your license, it's your life. So really it's the pilot, but it's always easy to blame the pilot, whereas there's a system behind that pilot. There is a whole system that should have caught this, and even if he didn't catch it, you don't know what sort of pressures were on him. This was a high-profile person. They know he's a high-profile person. They know people going to Vegas for the Super Bowl are wealthy people. So everywhere, even in the U.S., there's always sometimes that pressure.
Could have, should have.
Yeah.
And, well, we'll watch to see how it happens. We're told we need to go, but we know that you've launched a new framework for multimodal transport investigations. That's including air, rail, road, and maritime.
Yes.
What's the significance of this? What are you hoping to get?
Well, it's in line with our Establishment Act of 2022. We're now the sole accident investigation agency in Nigeria. But as I've said in the past, we have everybody trying to be judge, jury, and executioner in their own case. In the case of Nimasa Railway Corporation and Co. So, of course, for us to investigate these accidents comprehensively, we need to have our own maritime investigation regulations, the training manuals, investigation procedure policy and manuals. And these are real hefty documents. I mean, they're no easy task, but I'm pleased to say we're actually done with the maritime and the rail. And in fact, my team are going to start here in the next couple of weeks.
The end goal? What's the end
goal? So the end goal, well, you need that to investigate effectively. Okay. And even the IMO, the International Maritime Organization, who recognize us as the accident investigative body, they need to see these documents as well. So these documents need to be there, or else we're just going to go out there investigating things without a real checklist to back us up, and our investigations could be called into question.
So how soon will this be in place?
Like I said, it's ready. We need to do the stakeholder engagement now. So this is the advocacy, the public buy-in, and public and the regulators, stakeholders, because you need their buy-in either way, or else we'll be fighting a losing battle.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Captain Alex Badeh Jr., thank you very much for joining us. DG Nigeria Safety Investigation Bureau, that's the NSI.